About 8 months ago or so, I noticed that Behringer had announced that they were going to be bringing out a recreation of the PPG Wave. Here's a picture of the original from Wikipedia. So one of the synths of the 80s, one of the first synths with digital oscillators, and it had a really clever wavetable system to make great sounds. And it was one of the main synths used by one of my favourite bands of the 80s and, well, 70s and 80s, but I first got into them in the 80s, Tangerine Dream. And wait, look at my dot cam here. In this program from their 1982-83 tour, you can see Edgar Frossa has a keyboard which says, I think, PPG Wave. And slightly more recent tour, well, 86, there's this program of the rehearsal setup, and there you can see it quite clearly, the PPG Waves synthesizer. So, as a fan of Tangerine Dream, I was quite excited about this, and I've talked with my wife, and she gave me permission to spend some of our rather restricted funds on one. And months later, it turned up yesterday, and it's lovely. So let's just have a look at this. Here it is. Compared to the original, it's very similar, but smaller, much smaller. It doesn't have the big area at the back, it's just a quite compact keyboard. Only 4 octaves, whereas the original was 5. The controls are almost identical. In the original there was an extra LED here, which I don't know the purpose of. And this one has a wee wave oscilloscope type display here. Data button has moved from there to there, so pretty much the same. So I've got it all plugged into my little setup here. I haven't done anything to check. There's no earth loops, so if there's some 50 Hz noise, just forgive me for that. It's not the synth, it's just my test setup. And let's have a listen to some of the sounds. So, program 1 in bank 1. With this, you can either type into the keypad here to change sound, or you can use this wee thing, and that switches between things when it's in default mode. Press it once and it's into changing the values mode. So carefully change sound 2. Sound 3. You hear a bit of a stutter in between the sounds sometimes, because obviously there's a lot of analog electronics in here that are getting reset. Sound 4. Oh no, that went on to 5. 4. And 1. 1. Oh, one thing I should point out in these sounds, they've got group A and B, both active on their default. From the manual means it's really 4 voice. Does seem to be having more than 4. Manual, that's an interesting one. There's a little QR code stuck on the outside of the box it came in a very substantial cardboard box, of course. And that lets you download the manual, which I have done and printed out because I'm old and like printed things. So that was sound 6. Sound 7. And 8. is you can change octaves, of course. Go very high, very low. I'm just keeping it at 0 at default. Then well, 14, 15. Bit aggressive. Obviously, I was not actually checked, but I assume there's about 128 or even 256 sounds because there's 2 banks. It has all the analog controls that you would want, of course, and ACF cutoff, emphasis resonance. In some of it, the controls really make quite dramatic differences. I think particularly envelope to waves and some sounds can make quite a big difference. That's to do with the way this works. It's got tables of waves, different waveforms that can be shifted through by the envelope. So that was its sort of unique, the original's unique feature that made it much more natural sounding synth than earlier synthesizers had been with their simple saw and sine and etc. waves. Let's go back to the sounds. 21, 22. With this sound, I'll just show one other thing, which isn't properly explained in the manual. Go into the sequencer mode. This mode, I assume it's short for, and I look up here to see arpeggios. Like the sequencer itself is a bit basic, and really I can't see anyone wanting to use it with a modern setup because it's just too simple, and we now have much better ways of doing sequencing. But the arpeggiator is quite nice. So, and that's, you switch to the first digit, 2 or 1 or 2. So if I go to 1, 4, that's random, and I can switch to the next thing. I think is the note lengths. So if I go to 4, maybe it's division. Yeah, I'll have to spend a bit of time playing with that, but there is a quite easy to use, reasonably nice arpeggiator in there. And I think that gets tied to this sound, so that I've just put that into program 41. I haven't saved it, so it will be gone when I change program. Oh, it's still there in program 32. Right, so go into sequencing and just go back to 0. Have a look. Oh, I don't know. I'm not fully used to using this yet. We'll just go up to bank 1 and listen to some of the sounds. Okay, I think that's probably enough for this video. So I'll finish there. This channel would really like you to follow it if you're interested in electronic music, and a bit of it will be about that. Main things though, software engineering, and I'm hoping to do a few videos about building a sequencer which will fit what I want, which means a bit better than the built-in sequencer for circuit tracks and things like that, which just lets 2 bars, because I want to be able to do 8 bars, 16 bars, 64 bars, or even a whole song in a single sequence at times. So I'll want that flexibility, but also with the circuit tracks, like switching on and off things, tracks and channels, so that it's a performance sequencer rather than a studio sequencer. And it will be all MIDI, because that's what I want. Simple MIDI sequencer, not, if I'm ever trying to make a finished performance and putting in a bit of guitar or something, I'll go to Cubase, but I want a sequencer that will let me just have fun playing my keyboards, basically, and build up songs that I've got multiple parts, as if there was 3 of me and I was Tangerine Dream. Anyway, that's enough for now. So please give me a follow if you're remotely interested in software engineering, learning technology, or electronic music. And like this video if you're really into the sounds of the Behringer Wave.